Ford versus Ferrari, Herbie the Love Bug, Top Gear filmed there. Jay Leno's Garage has filmed there.
This week on That Car Show, it's a That Car Show Willow Springs bonus episode. Dan and Lindsay were both fortunate to be a part of the recent Willow Springs reimagined launch event, and we wanted to get their experiences to you before too much time had passed. If you haven't already, make sure you check out this week's regularly scheduled That Car Show episode with the LA Auto Show's Andy Steinhauser. And be sure to stick around till the end of this episode, where we announce the winner of our most recent Sheffield Watch giveaway. Dan, Lindsay, and I will be back again on Friday with another crew show. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and tell your friends. It's That Car Show.
That Car Show is brought to you by Sheffield Watches.
The Sheffield watch brand has a long and storied history, but it was revived a couple years back by our good friend and true car guy, Jay Turkbus. Jay was gifted a Sheffield watch by his parents when he was a kid, and he still has it to this day. Jay wanted to make the same experience available to all of us, a reasonably priced, high-quality watch that endures and that we enjoy sharing with our fellow watch enthusiasts and car people.
From divers watches to watches designed for travel to collaboration with automotive pals like Spike Ferriston and Jay Leno, Sheffield has a watch for you. Find your own Sheffield watch at sheffieldwatches.com and at Sheffield_allsport_watches on Instagram. And let Jay know you heard about Sheffield Watches from That Car Show.
Hey, it's That Car Show, and we're back. Lindsay, good seeing you at the Western Wear outlet earlier today.
Right?
And
Is it Jay Leno?
the Jay Leno
Day?
Tip of the cowboy cap to you, yeah.
the gray beard just goes so well with denim. But and welcome back to you, sir.
Hey, long
haven't
time.
seen you in a couple weeks. You've been busy.
I have. How have you guys been?
Good, it's really good to see you. Wonderful to have you back.
It's good to see you virtually, Lindsay.
I know. I think there's got to be some award for somehow missing each other in person at the Willow Springs event when we managed to see everyone else we wanted to see.
All right. So for us losers who were not at this magical thing that happened at Willow Springs, can you just, I don't know, bring us up to speed?
Dive right in. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say, there were only, like, give or take officially 4,500 people at the event, and then whoever had media passes, so the numbers it was a relatively small crowd, give or take, considering the general population. But it was a sunny, very windy day. And Dan, I would love to hear your experience.
What was this event, though? Like, what
first.
actually, like, what is this thing? What was this thing called?
It was
coming
billed
together
as
of
the reintroduction
tribes.
of Willow Springs following its purchase by Cross Harbor Capital, which is a private equity firm. And they've partnered with Singer, and they've partnered with Sonoma. I am hoping Dan maybe knows a little bit more about that Sonoma Raceway. I just learned about that. So this was billed as their sort of reintroduction of the track following the change of ownership. It was a big, big, big day for that racetrack, which if you've been there, it is a 2-lane road in and out. I went with my dad, he and I have driven there for a long time. And he looked at me at one point, he said, "This is more people than have been at this track in the last 10 years combined. And they're all here at the same time."
All right, just to establish, Willow Springs is this legacy track. They filmed Ford v Ferrari there, right? I mean, it was kind of like this, like in amber, right? Like this kind of moment in time, this great
Right.
track.
So it is
fallen on hard times.
Well, I don't know that it had, but I may be in the minority. Having driven there for a long time, I don't know if it's one of those things where you stop sort of like seeing it for what it was. It's always been this bare bones track in the middle of the desert inland from LA in a little tiny town called Rosamond. The bigger towns which are near it are Lancaster and Palmdale. Those may be more familiar to people, but it's technically in Rosamond, which is a tiny town outside of those two towns. And like you said, it was used for filming Ford versus Ferrari. Some of the scenes from Herbie the Love Bug were filmed there. Top Gear filmed there at one point. Jay Leno's Garage has filmed there. It is the oldest permanent road course in continuous use in the U.S. It was started construction in 1952.
Really?
And I just learned they had input from Ken Miles on the
wow.
layout of Big Willow. And then the first race was in 1953, and it has been used continuously since then. So it is, iconic in Southern California, but there's not much there. It's really in the middle of the desert. It's probably 2.5 hours from Orange County. Traffic wise, I know people like to say it's an hour from LA, but I would love to know what time they're driving from LA to get there in an hour. Maybe Dan has better info.
Well,
Dan's done it in 45 minutes. What are you talking about?
At 7:30 that morning. So I had to go there for work.
Right.
And so was there super early. I was also lucky enough to do some testing there on the Wednesday beforehand. So,
That's amazing.
Without going into too much detail, we had some classic cars on the track, and we did some testing to basically make sure that the cars all passed and made their way. But I heard stories of traffic lines, around the corner type thing. Did you experience? What time did you arrive, Lindsay?
So I was in the thick of it, and in the heat of the moment, I had this. I went, "Are we doing the Fire Festival Willow Springs edition?" Because we left
sandwiches.
Right? I know. I was in my head. I went, "We're gonna sit in this traffic, and we're gonna get inside, and it's gonna be the Fire Festival cheese sandwiches because we'll be so delayed
Glad to have
that
it.
this is all the food will be picked over."
Yeah.
So we left Orange County a few minutes after 8 a.m. We arrived within 1.5 miles of the entrance to Willow Springs, which we know very well, at 10 o'clock. And we turned the corner onto the entrance road at noon. So it was 2 hours to go 1.5 miles, which is really something, even in LA.
You could have walked it quicker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was pretty bad. And then it was compounded by, there were a couple people in 4x4s that decided to go in the dirt and very visibly cut the line. And then, so it's a 1 lane each way. It's a 2-lane road, which was part of the issue. And, those of us familiar with the track sort of went, well, but I'm sure they'll have traffic control or some sort of management. And at one point, after we'd been sitting for probably an hour and a half, there was a McLaren that was in the lane I was in, which was the right lane, went into the oncoming lane and just drove the rest of the way. Luckily, nothing happened. But moments after that, we had traffic coming the other way. So he got very lucky. But yeah, it didn't make any friends.
We need to shame these people. This McLaren driver, these off-road guys. That's not cool. Come on. We're all going to the same place.
I mean, it was like, we're all in it together. We're all stuck in it. It stinks. But,
it's always got to be that guy.
In theory, we're all here because we're excited about the track and we love driving. So let's all, suck it up.
I think the interesting thing was that there were lots of events going on that weekend in LA. There was a big Japanese car event. And up until about 2 weeks before, it hadn't sold out. But as soon as the event sold out, it became like car week levels of black market tickets. My phone on the Friday blew up with lots of people texting me, "Do I know anyone who's got spare tickets? Can you get me in?" So, I guess kudos to them in terms of they staged their marketing correctly and, hit sold out just before the event opened. So, it was a hot ticket. And
it really was.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason it was a hot ticket is who was there. You turn a corner, apart from Lindsay, who I'm not even sure was definitely there because I didn't see her and I was there. But who was there?
You were there. I know I was there.
Right. The smart people came in by helicopter though. Like every 5 to 10 minutes there was a helicopter landing.
I know. I was texting the Spikes crew because we had plenty of time to just watch the helicopters. And I'm like, did you guys just land? Because at this point, I'm playing Guess the Helicopter.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
But you made it.
We did.
And it was
we absolutely
spectacular.
Did. It added to the story. And Dan's right. I think what's so unique about that venue is there were probably over the course of the day, there were 6,000 people there, I would guess. But the way the track is set up, because, most of the attendees were in the spectator area, it's kind of a narrow corridor. And so it's sort of like it. I don't know about you, Dan. It never felt crowded. I never had trouble. There was no trouble moving around the venue, being where you want to be, or moving through the crowd. But it was kind of nice because everybody was contained in the same area. And so you kept running across your friends or people that you'd hoped to meet. And so it was like a big, it was like the world's biggest barbecue.
Yeah. No, I would totally agree. There was some interesting different setups. So
Hmm.
the ice racing folks had like a little corral area, and they were showing
Yeah.
off different vehicles, including the Myers-Manx LFG.
Yeah, that thing
And
is pretty badass.
yeah, it's a Porsche engined, like what a Myers-Manx would be today, created by Richard Tuttle in the UK.
Yeah.
And near the end of the day, I don't know if you were around near the end of the day, Lindsay, but a buddy of mine and Richard got in the car. They then proceeded to go up the mountain behind Willow Springs. So they
In that
literally,
car?
you could see this orange car making its way up the mountain to the top. Apparently, they got to one point where it was so dusty they couldn't see where they were going and literally had to just stop. But yeah, that was one of the corrals, the Fat Ice Racing. There was obviously a VIP area.
Right.
And then beyond that, there was a car show. And it was
Hmm.
great to see the Ken Block cars were all there.
Right.
It was great to see McLaren had quite a few cars.
They did.
Good folks at Dirtfish brought some rally cars.
Yes.
000 were there with some cars. Who else was there?
Galpin was there. They had the Bowberry GT and GTD, which are unsurprisingly personal favorites of mine because I just cannot get over that color. It's the best.
Yeah.
And to see the two of them together, that was the first time I'd seen them in person together. If you don't know, they actually match my lipstick, which is unplanned, but they're just this brilliant magenta custom color that Ford created with Bo Bachman, and he's got a GT and a GTD in the same color. The Huna Pegasus was there, which is always fun to see. It's the pink Porsche that BBI built for Ken that he actually didn't have the chance to drive up Pikes Peak, but Leah, his daughter, drove it in an exhibition lap the next year. And actually, Dan, I don't know if you got to see, she took the Huna truck out on the front straight at Willow and did some donuts, and that was really fun to see. Zinger was there. They had a display in the on the west paddock area, and Shelby American had a display, and they had the GT3R Rennsport. One of those was there, which is really cool to see. It was the same one. It's a white with different blues livery, and I actually saw it at Airwater, but it's such a cool story with those. And so it was fun to see that again too. Yeah, I mean it was. And then the Peterson had quite a display. Can you tell us which cars you brought?
That Car Show is proud to partner with Drake Motorcars. Drake Motorcars is Denver's premier destination for exactly the kinds of vehicles that we like here at That Car Show. Think Velocity Broncos, Audi RS6s, Acura NSXs, and air-cooled Porsches. You can see their complete and constantly changing inventory at drakemotorcars.com and check out their amazing online reviews from all across the country. But our friends at Drake need your specialty car too. A sign of a good business is when there are more customers than inventory. So reach out to Drake too if you've got a great enthusiast car that just doesn't get driven like it used to. Find out more at drakemotorcars.com and let them know you heard about them on That Car Show.
12 cars from the museum, including the Steve McQueen Jaguar. So that went on the track.
That's such a thing.
So that car's probably worth $30 million, just to put into perspective. And it was outside the Hartman garage for people to look at and stuff.
Yeah, those are some great pictures.
Yeah, there are some really
Vignette.
good pictures.
Yeah.
Herbie.
Yes.
Herbie was there. Suki from Fast and Furious was there. I'm just trying to think what else.
Well, there was a GT350, Shelby GT350.
Yeah, GT350 and a GT40, a Mark III GT40, a modern GT, so 2005
Yeah.
GT, a car called Old Yeller,
Yes.
David Brabham's first Brabham.
Oh.
So it was literally a great historical selection that it was either related to the movies, related to cars that were actually either tested or developed there, or cars that would have run there in period. So yeah, lots of great cars. I had a magenta car actually.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Again, I saw your car and not you.
So
We were
yeah.
this close.
Yeah, that's right. I should have just stayed by my car the whole day, right?
Right.
But, yeah, so Ford were gracious enough to lend me a magenta Mustang GT. with a
Not just magenta, but matte, right?
Yeah, like
This
a
was
matte.
quite
Yeah,
a-
it was really
yeah.
pretty.
It was interesting as well because it had an aftermarket exhaust. Well, not an aftermarket. It had a factory exhaust, but it's an option, and it adds something like 20 horsepower to the car. But the thing is, every traffic light, you sound like a complete dick because it's making so much noise. It's just an embarrassment when you're not like out in the open roads. You know, people are turning and like, who is that dickhead? And that was me for the weekend. Yeah.
Just gotta lean into it. You just
Yeah,
gotta
Yeah,
embrace it.
embrace the American car culture, but it was a lovely car to drive. I actually think I prefer it to the Dark Horse, which is probably the most controversial thing I've said this year.
Yeah.
But it's just more simple and basic, and you know the gearbox is great, and I'm sure the Dark Horse is a great car, but I think the
Right.
sweet spot's the V8.
So was this one a manual?
This was, yeah, and the Dark Horse was as well,
nice.
Yeah.
but a different gearbox,
So
I
it's a true
think.
comparison.
I think the Dark Horse has a different gearbox to the standard V8.
I would imagine. But yeah, I mean, it's a real comparison in the sense you had manuals in both. So
Yeah.
Do you drive that thing differently than you do, say, your own Porsche? Like, does it bring something different out of you?
It does. It was easier to drive than my Porsche, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, the clutch was easier. It was an easier, simpler car, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Much bigger vehicle, too.
yes, yeah,
Which you don't appreciate until you get from
yeah.
one to the other.
But I enjoyed it. It was a fun time.
Cool. Excellent.
But yeah, so there were lots of different races going on and exhibition laps and stuff. But I think for me, the top one was the trackers bought some cars to run as school cars. So they bought GT4 RSs. I don't know whether you'd spoken to them or consulted Ryan or what, but they bought these GT4 RSs, and what they decided to do is do a celebrity race.
Okay.
So they had Jimmy Johnson, Dario Franchitti, they had the other Franchitti that I forget his first name.
Marino.
Thank you. Jensen Button, and then Maz from Singer. And they all lined up on the grid and put on great entertainment. It was a really fun race.
It was legitimate, and they had they had a Doc Hudson Hornet there who was the pace car for that race initially. So that was like the contrast of that was just so cool to see.
Yeah.
And the pace car belongs to the new owner. So the pace car belongs to Sam. So he was,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so he was the pace car.
Well, he has amazing taste.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? So who did you bump into, Lindsay? I'm keen to understand whether we both had our dance card marked by the same people.
Probably like the way this is working out. I mean, we both got to see Jay Ryan. I got to see him at the end of the day, and he and I both were like, Dan was just here.
Who's now on his road trip, so we wish him a safe, fun road trip right now.
I know. Yeah, it commenced, Monday?
Yes.
Grand Tour number 3.
Where's he headed this time?
He said he's heading south to go east.
Okay.
And then wherever the wind may take him. And we're all tuning in to see.
Yeah,
But it was fun to see him in person before he took off. I got to see friend of the show, Dan McGinnis, which was wonderful.
Oh, hey.
I saw Dan McGinnis.
Of course you did.
He said he had seen you. That was the best part. Everybody that knows both of us, they're like, yeah, I saw him this morning. So it was like we had a weird Where's Waldo and nobody was winning.
Right.
But it was so funny because I had seen a Shark Blue GT4 on the way out there, and I texted a picture to Derek Powell, and he wrote me back and said, Dan McGinnis is on his way. And I thought he was kidding. And then it turns out, no. And I sent the picture to Dan, and he said, oh, it looks like I'm on the road just ahead of you. So it was like, the car community, small worldness in action in the best way. So got to hang out with Dan for a bit. I got to see the SCR crew, Spike and Zuckerman and Johnny, and Matt Farah obviously was there. We were apparently on the road outside the track when Matt was doing his podcast. So I'm sorry that we missed that, but we got to see him. I got to say hi to him later. And then probably I would say the highlight of my trip out there was that Dan McGinnis and I were talking, and all of a sudden he said, I think that's Neil Clifford over there. And for those of you that don't recognize his name, Neil is one of the 4 people that Chris Harris does his current podcast with, Chris Harris and Friends. It's Neil Clifford, Manish Pandey, and Chris Cooper. And Dan, I knew you had met Neil earlier in the week, so I knew he was in town. And I looked at Dan and I said, you're right. Do you want to go over there? And he said, I do. So we went over and introduced ourselves. And Dan, I think you've said the same thing too. He was just the most lovely, approachable car guy. I mean, he was just one of us. And we all kept saying to each other, Dan and I went up and said, we love your podcast. It's, we really enjoy listening. Thank you so much for putting it together. And it really is about the people. And he kept echoing that back to us too. And just sort of, like we've all said to each other a million times over ad nauseum, the cars are what opened the door for these conversations. But he could not have been like a more lovely person. And as we were chatting about the podcast, he said, I love our podcast and we really enjoy doing it. And he kind of talked me through their process and the way they pick the topics they're going to talk about. And like one of my favorite things about their show is they do the quote emergency podcast, which always makes me laugh. And anytime you see that in the heading, you go, okay, this is, it's going to be good that they're like alert emergency podcast. But he said, I do listen to Spike's Car Radio. I really love them. And I said, well, they're all here, right? And he said, no. And I said, have you met them? He said, no. And I said, well, would you like to? And he said, I'd love to.
Nice.
So I said, well, we haven't seen the helicopter go over in a minute. The chances are they're still here. I called Johnny and he said, we're just about to leave, but we're in the VIP area. Bring him over. So, and Neil had been heading that way anyway. So Dan and Neil and I walked over. Johnny came out and got him. He got to meet everybody on the Spikes crew. And the funniest part was he said, I love the show. I really do identify with Zuckerman. And I try to sort of, emulate Zuckerman. And I'm like, well, yeah, we can all understand that. He's hilarious. But it was just the most delightful. I kept sort of virtually pinching myself going like, I love this show. Dan, you're the one that, turned us on to it here. And it was just like one of those car world magic moments of like, are you kidding? I'm talking to Neil Clifford. I got to meet Chris Harris at Lamar. And it was like, this is just wild. You can't make this stuff up or you can't manufacture this.
Yeah.
And it was just
helicopters
the most
coming and
wonderful-
going. I mean,
helicopters, I know. I looked at my dad at one point because Johnny came out and we were chatting and then he's like, okay, we got to go. The helicopter, and I looked at my dad and it said the number of events we've been at where our friends go like, well, my helicopter's about to leave. So it's like,
next year,
I guess, you're in the right place, right? But Dan, you got to meet Neil earlier in the week, right?
Yeah, I met him. So Singer had a private party on Friday night and I had to sign an NDA, so that's all I can tell you about that private party. But I did meet...
it happened.
I did meet him there very briefly, just as I was leaving. He told me he was a big fan of the museum, and he told me he owns a Steve McQueen Mercedes-Benz. And that Steve McQueen Mercedes-Benz is in our good friend's Mercedes Classic in Long Beach. So
it's at the Classic Center?
Shout out Mike Coons and Nate and crew.
But the best part of the story for me was it was probably about 3:30 on the Saturday. The event closed at 4. And I ended up in the car park where the car show was, leaning up against a car, talking to 3 of my friends from Dirtfish. And we were just shooting the shit about cars. And then he wanders by. So I just said, hey, Neil, come meet my friend. So I pulled him over. We were talking about cars, leaning against cars. We could have been at any car show. He has a Peugeot T16 Group B rally car, road car. And he's like, you know what? I don't know where to get this serviced in the UK. And we were like, well, we know someone. So I texted him the details of someone that could service his car for him. And isn't that just car culture?
Yeah.
And I think that sort of sums it up. It's like for all of the like sort of logistical hiccups, which really just add to the story, the day sort of kept unfolding that way of it was all these people that just love cars, love car culture, wanted to be there. And I think with the added mix of people that had traveled a long way for this event, it was not just Southern California. Obviously, Neil's from the UK. I had somebody from Seattle message me and say, hey, are you going to be there? Like, people came a long way. And it was just, like, again, it was just about the people. And we have this huge common interest. Some people call it a sickness, but, Yeah. We just had the chance to connect and, meet people that we hadn't necessarily met before, but realize, like, we all share this this big thing, and we're all just car people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what did you do last weekend, Ryan?
Well,
Right?
that sounds awesome. I'm really sorry I missed it.
Well, we were sorry that you
Yeah.
weren't there. Well, and I will say one other funny thing.
Yeah.
Again, which was where you just go like, you could never have, like, if you had told me this was going to happen, I would not have believed you.
Yeah.
When we were talking to Neil, Dario Franchitti walked up after he had changed from the race because he and Neil know each other. And I had gotten to see him race at Goodwood at the Revival a couple years ago. And again, like, Neil was the most generous. He introduced all of us to Dario.
Yeah.
And he said, and Lindsay does a podcast. And so I said to Dario, like, it's so nice to meet you. I got to see you race at Goodwood. And he went, oh boy, like, oh, nope. But in a very good natured,
Yeah.
again, it was just a bunch of car people.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
but you have names that I know.
Dan McGinnis sent a picture of that scene.
Yes.
He's kind of in the corner. Like, do you guys remember the meme on the internet? Like, I don't know, in the early days of the internet with like the fire starter girl, where she just has like this look in her eyes, like the house burns behind her. That's all I can think
This
of.
is
Like,
fine.
like this is happening, But
I think that picture is Dario shaking my dad's hand. And I told Dan, I'm like, how did you get a picture? Like,
That's
you
so
just happened
cool.
to take a picture of
That's good.
my dad getting to meet Dario, which is,
that's really,
And if you
I
don't
didn't have that on my bingo card.
If you don't know Dario, he's the chief test driver for the Gordon Murray cars.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
so
Dan
he
ran
and-
into him on Angela's Crest one time, right? In like
When
the
he
250
had the Gordon Murray
prototype or
car,
something. Yeah.
when he had it up there ahead of Car Week last year, and that was, Dan said, and again, it was like, we're all just car people, because Dan said, yeah, we actually met, and I have the green Spider with the miles on it, and Dario went, oh my God, yeah, it's so good to see you. Because they ran into each other at Good Vibes.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Like,
That's awesome.
we're all just
And while you were there, you put that car show stickers in all the cars in the parking lot as planned.
I was handing them out. People are like, what is this, currency? I'm like, yes, it is. Go get yourself a burger on that car show.
In the VIP tent.
Well, sounds like a hell of a good time. And I know we're only scratching the surface of stories and all that. I think more stories will come out over time, right, as NDAs expire and this kind of thing. But
Right. Well, I
sounds
think,
like a
so I have a
fantastic
question
thing.
for Dan, actually. I'm curious about this because I didn't anticipate this until we were there, and I realized I kind of had one foot in each world, in the sense of I've been driving there for a long time, and so has my family. So, but we've known it as this sort of remote track in the desert with, like, I will say, amazing restrooms, but like one little cafe.
Why? Why are they amazing? I want to know.
They're clean and functional, and they're not porta
okay.
potties,
And sometimes
which
that's
is
all you
like,
need. Yeah. Okay.
Listen, the bar is low, but they've always been like high on the list.
Acceptable, yeah.
Right. Like very, very, passable. And they have a cafe there, obviously, but there's the cafe. That's it. There's no services. But I just have sort of like, I was going to the event to see, like, hey, what's the future for this area that I have known as a racetrack and I've driven on for a long time. And it was interesting to look at the crowd. And my sense was not a lot of the people in the crowd either have driven at the track or have driven at this track, and sort of listening to the people that have driven there for a long time and their understanding or lack of, like, what Singer is and that brand and the kind of cars that Singer makes, which is something that's very familiar to the three of us too. Sure. And so, Dan, I was curious what your sense was as far as like the attendees and people's perception of the event. Did you think it was a lot of track enthusiasts, car enthusiasts, people that were just curious and want something to do on a Saturday?
Yeah, I think I would break it down into the two areas, because there was a VIP area.
Yeah.
And I think the folks in the VIP area were either celebrities or folks interested in investing in the track. So there's a couple of membership options that can be taken. And then the impression I got is that the general other folks were car lovers. Maybe they hadn't driven at the track, but they were, lovers of both historic cars and modern cars. So I think it was a combination of investors and folks that just had a passion for the track, but maybe not driven there.
Interesting. Yeah. How was the food?
So they did have a lovely spread in the media area. but I kind of buzzed in and buzzed back out. Dan, you got to go into the VIP area. Otherwise, the lines, they did have
Yeah.
several food stations, but the lines were really long. So
Yeah.
I had some
And they're
snacks in the car on the way home,
Okay.
but Dan got to go in the VIP area, so he can report back.
Yeah,
on
it was
sandwiches.
lovely. It was like roast pork or roast beef.
Oh God! All right.
Stations and all the trimmings and everything else. And to be honest with you, I didn't eat till really late because I've been working away.
Well, you were working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But managed to get some food at the last minute.
Yeah.
But,
Huh. Sounds like a great event. Like I said, I'm super jealous. So glad that you guys were there representing that car show. And it was definitely where all the cool kids were. And also interesting that there was a limit of 5,000 people and exactly 4,999 showed up. So just
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
I mean, it really speaks to like
planning.
sort of the diligence of the event planners.
The other interesting things there. So the Fat Ice Racing have partnered with a go-karting group under somebody called Rob Smedley. Rob Smedley is, if you ever heard any of the Formula One radio messages between the engineer and the driver, Felipe Massa from Ferrari had Rob Smedley as his engineer. So I think when he won races, Rob was very famous for saying, "Filippo, baby, you've done it." Nice. But Rob is like a technical genius, and he's developed an electric go-kart, to democratize and try and make go-karting more accessible. It started 8 months ago in the UK, but they're going to have their world finals at Willow in December, on the 14th of December. 30 Porsche is going to be there because he's invested in the program as well. Those karts were running. If you listen to the latest Smoking Tire, 30 was on that, and he was talking a little bit more about that program. And then the other thing is that there's 2 tracks there. In essence, there's more than 2 tracks, but there's 2, nominal tracks, right? And when the big one closes down, which will be now, and it'll get slightly redesigned, so there'll be further options on the track. You won't have one specific set course. So they'll, near the final turns, there'll be options to cut in as well. But is it Button Willow or Little Willow? The other?
Yeah. Streets of
Willow. Thank you. That is now
That's
open,
the one
repaved,
redone.
and it will be fully operational as well. So, so it's a great event. Next year we all need to be there.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I maybe naively didn't realize that this was the first of many, reimagined events. I was surprised afterwards when people were saying, "Thanks for coming to the first," and I was like, "Wait a minute." But so they've done a lot of improvements to streets with the runoff. One thing I did hear is that they've added Armco railing, which is a concern to motorcyclists. Like if you have a wipeout, it can be a serious issue. So people are concerned about that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Big Willow.
Yeah, I think Big Willow in the future could be used for bikes.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Alexander Wirtz, I think it is, has been the chief architect of designing the track, and he's ex-Formula One. He's an ex-Formula One driver. So,
I read something where it was an enthusiast had spoken with Rob Dickinson at Car Week, I think, and he said they were keeping turn 9, which has been, like, if you wipe out at turn 9, it's been very unforgiving, and there's been a big hole near the apex. So apparently there were some people that wanted them to do something, eliminate turn 9. I don't know.
How many turns are there on the track?
9.
9. Okay.
You come out of 9 onto the front straight.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. So that's staying. So I guess before turn 8, there'll be an option to come inside the track instead of taking turn 8.
Oh, like cut it off.
Yeah.
I could see that. There's a back straight before you go into 8. And then you go into 9, and then you're on the front straight.
It's a great little circuit. It's got great elevation. It's a fun circuit.
Yeah, I think it's a good mix because you can get going so fast, but it's got plenty of opportunity for technical driving.
Yeah.
So hopefully they preserve that.
That's a hell of a commercial for Willow Springs. Before I forget, we have a Sheffield Watch giveaway winner to announce.
That's right.
This was the contest that took a little thinking, right? You had to be clever.
You had to work for
That's right, as it should be.
Yeah.
And we had a good number of responses. So, we had a very scientific way of, I guess, weighing the answers. And we picked a winner.
That's right.
And that winner is...
That winner is That Car Show fan see Kevin go, Kevin Firstel. And there was much text discussion, which is obviously that was our scientific method.
Yeah.
And we really enjoyed Kevin's response. So if you didn't get a chance to read it, check out our watch post and you can see his comment. But Kevin, congratulations on winning a Sheffield watch. Please DM the show with your mailing address and the watch that you'd like, and we will get that processing. But we are so excited for you.
Until next time, we're That Car Show.
I know. And remember, always be driving, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for joining us.